Hello there, people of the internet. I was kind of going over ammunition. I'll be honest, I was kind of going over ammunition, and I put two and two together as to what it is that we're looking at in terms of the argument between 223/556 and 762 by 39. So let's talk about what they actually are. I got both those cartridges right here. 762 by 39 from an AK. This is a 123 grain bullet that's going to travel at about 2,400 or so feet per second. This right here is a 55 grain bullet. Should be traveling from a full length AR barrel at approximately, I think the number comes out to about 3,200 feet per second, but that kind of depends on manufacturer. You know, if you go shooting cheap steel case 223, don't expect to get full velocity. But anyway, this right here is one of those arguments that has been around for a very long time. People saying, do you want smaller, less powerful ammunition that you can carry more of, or more powerful 762 by 39, which is just going to be more effective downrange because it's a heavier bullet. It's just a more powerful cartridge. And that's one of the big arguments that's been in the gun community for God knows how long. A lot of it has to do with the platforms that these cartridges are being fired out of, whether or not you're an AR guy or an AK guy. Personally, I don't care which it is that you go with. The only thing I care about is whether or not you can effectively put lead down range. That's all that matters to me. So a lot of the argument stems from the platforms, but nowadays you can get 5.56 AKs, you can get 7.62 by 39 ARs. So that argument has kind of diminished in terms of the platforms that they're being used in, and it's just kind of turned into the argument of whether or not you should go with the 30 caliber round or the 223 caliber round. So whenever I was doing research and whatnot on this topic, I ended up coming to the conclusion that the higher ups in power and people who design firearms and arms and technology and whatnot essentially asked themselves the same question as well. And apparently they came to the conclusion that the other one was better. The 223 is definitely a very popular AR-15 round. It's probably the most popular if I had to make a bet. I don't think that all other AR-15 cartridges even come close, even if you combined them together, to the popularity of that 223 cartridge. However, a very popular cartridge nowadays as of 2024 in the AR platform is going to be your 300 Blackout. This right here is a cartridge that is basically right on par with 7.62 by 39 in terms of ballistic capabilities. Now, there are reasons for the 300 Blackout to exist. I know a lot of people will tell me, although it is basically a 7.62 by 39, it's not designed around the same ideals as 7.62 by 39. This is a cartridge that is designed to be very effectively suppressed. Now, just because it was designed to be very effectively suppressed, let me give y'all some numbers here. Roughly, there's about, according to governmental approximations, 83 million firearms owners here in the United States. There are about 2.6 million registered suppressors in the United States. Now, a lot of people will have multiple suppressors in their arsenal, but let's just give the largest number possible here. And let's say that the people who registered suppressors, they have one, and there's 2.6 million people that have suppressors. That equates to about 3% of firearms owners having suppressors. 300 Blackout did not get as popular as it is because of 3% of the firearms population. Most of the people that are shooting 300 Blackout are going to be shooting, you know, supersonic, full power 300 Blackout through their AR. It's just what most people do. This right here serves the purpose of what most people are wanting to do with their ARs if they want a 30 caliber round but want to avoid the 7.62 by 39. So 300 Blackout, it used to be like significantly more expensive than 7.62 by 39, but as of nowadays, it is about on par with that cartridge. So we have seen people moving from the 22 caliber to 223 firing AR-15 to the 30 caliber 300 Blackout. Now, this is by no stretch of the imagination going to take over at all whenever it comes to these cartridges. But I have seen much more 300 Blackout ARs in comparison to 7.62x39 ARs, and I think a lot of that has to do with the compatibility between bolts and lowers and whatnot of these two cartridges. You can swap out between 22 caliber and 30 caliber with your AR with a simple barrel swap. You can even keep your upper and everything like that, versus having to swap out to 7.62x39, which require different magazines, different lockups, different all sorts of stuff for your AR. So converting to something like this, in comparison to converting to something like this, it's just easier to go to the 300 Blackout versus the 7.62x39 if you want to fire that larger caliber through your AR-15. But nevertheless, the 300 Blackout is an example of people moving towards what the argument stems from with 7.62x39. Larger projectile, more energy downrange, more mass moving in that particular direction. Like this is this is the 223 crowd admitting that 7.62x39 is going to be the better option for the people that move to that 300 Blackout area. Now, it still goes with the same vein in the other direction, because the Russian military in 1974 moved from 7.62x39 to the 5.45. They saw the effectiveness and the ease of carry and all the benefits of something with the 5.56, and they essentially wanted that. And so they developed the 5.45 to fire in their AK-74s, and that is what we have right here. I actually do not have an AK-74, and I struggled to find a 5.45 round. I knew that I had one somewhere for representation purposes. I just had no idea where it was at. I spent the past half an hour trying to find this one particular cartridge. But the Russians ended up going from that 30 caliber, large, slower moving cartridge to the faster, sleeker, better at longer distances, like better ballistically, better ballistic coefficient bullets that you get from something like a 5.45 in comparison to a fat, slow-moving 30 caliber round. So the 7.62x39 crowd admitted that the 5.56 was probably going to be the better option, so they ended up adopting essentially their version of the 5.56. And the 5.56 crowd admitted that 7.62x39 also has its benefits, so they ended up going with the 300 Blackout, which for all intents and purposes, for the average person who's not going to be shooting suppressed, this is essentially a 7.62x39. Now, you could get heavier projectiles in 300 Blackout. They do make up to 150 grain, I believe. But that being said, you can also get heavier projectiles in your 7.62x39. It's just kind of less common. Most of your 7.62x39 is going to be that 123 to 125 grain bullet. That's just kind of the norm of what people have come to expect. So I wanted to share that with you guys just because that's something that I've come up with. It's a little piece that I was able to put together, and I was like, okay, this doesn't, this is the argument, but they still decided to do this. So the 5.56 went to 7.62x39, and the 7.62x39 essentially went to 5.56. Yeah, you can get a cartridge to do whatever you want in these platforms. Now, because of certain laws and restrictions, some things are more available than others, and price points, and etc., etc., depending on what it is you feel like spending, where you are in the world, like, that might determine what your better options are, but that's not what we're talking about here. I was just kind of talking about how the argument between the cartridges led to different creations of different projectiles. Thanks for watching, folks. I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode.
once I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garrett. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.